I'm here with Gill Fenner from Parish Nursing UK. Gill, I just wondered if starting, you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and your current role.
I'm a parish nurse at St Martin's Church in Parkfields, Wolverhampton, and I'm also the regional coordinator for Parish Nurse Ministries UK, and I cover the churches across the Midlands and in the southwest of England. Parish nursing was introduced to me about 5 years ago when I read an article in the Royal College of Nursing magazine, and I pursued what is a parish nurse. And at the time I wasn't working and looked at the potential for becoming a parish nurse myself. It's a week's residential course, and for obvious reasons you have to be a registered nurse.
I'm particularly interested in interviewing you in relation to the COVID cash course that you came onto. But can you tell me first of all a little bit about your own experience in relation to managing money?
Yeah, it was whilst I was doing the course with yourselves, I reflected upon my own experiences, and I actually think that it's good to think about your own situations and what problems you've encountered throughout your life. And I guess it was back in my 40s, and I'm 60 something now, but back in my 40s,
close to your 40s to me, so doing well.
Back in my 40s, I guess I had a bit of a midlife crisis and ended up finding myself in the divorce court, sadly. I'd got 2 small boys at the time and a mother that lived with me. My father had died many years ago, and Mum came to live with me because she was struggling. And thank the Lord she did come to live with me, because my mum became my right arm, helping to look after the boys. And after my marriage breakdown, I found that I was in a dire mess financially. I'd got a house which people think is a really big house, but in debt up to my eyeballs. And I didn't realise that, because I'd lived quite a comfortable life. Everything financially had been done for me, and I had somewhat of a rude awakening to managing finance. I went to the bank to sort out the mortgage, because I suppose I was a little bit on the stubborn side. And I wanted to stay in the house because my mum was here, she'd got a granny flat here, and I didn't want to disrupt what was normal for the boys. So, being stubborn, I stayed in the house, but realised, you know what, I can't actually afford it. Went to the bank, saw the bank manager, who laughed at me and said, "You really think you can take on a mortgage like that?" Yeah, why can't I? And he said, "Well, I tell you what, you go away and come back to see me in 6 months' time. And in 6 months, if you're still bobbing along in that deep ocean, then I'll look again and see whether we can look at giving you a mortgage." So I went away and thought, now what am I going to do? Thankfully, with a profession as a nurse, then I found plenty of work, and literally I did work days and nights, no days off, to put some money in my back pocket. And after, I think it was about 5 months, I went back to see the bank manager, and he looked at me and he looked at my bank balance and he went, "I can't believe this." And he reconsidered, and he gave me the mortgage that I wanted, but obviously scrutinised what was going on in depth. And during, probably another 2 years thereafter, I changed absolutely everything that we did in the house. Having been used to shopping in Sainsbury's and buying the very best, the most expensive, probably looking back at it. Mum and I used to go to the market with the boys on a Saturday morning each week, and we'd buy fresh fruit, veg, meat, all from the market. Or Mum would pop into Aldi and get cheaper versions. And in fact, the boys to this day still only like Aldi baked beans. But we changed everything. So it wasn't pre-prepared food. And in fact, it's healthier for you, making food from fresh vegetables, fresh meat. And I always remember a Saturday night around the fire. I used to gather the sticks out of the garden to help with the coal bill. And we'd sit round an open fire by candlelight. And I used to tell the boys it was a romantic meal. And we did that for quite some time, until eventually I managed to get back on my feet financially. With a great deal of help from Mum. I would never have done it if I hadn't have been able to go out to work every minute of the day and night. And it was a very difficult time for me, and difficult spiritually as well, to be left in a position like that, thinking that, you know, I'm out there on my own with nobody's help, nobody caring for me. But gradually, bit by bit, I got back onto my feet and moved forward. And the boys still to this day talk about the romantic meals that we used to have on a Saturday evening around the fire.
That's brilliant. It's an amazing story, Gill. And I'm really pleased that you're willing to share it, because I suspect that it will be an encouragement to somebody else who might be struggling currently in a situation that they hadn't planned or hadn't expected themselves to be in. But I wanted to ask a little bit more in relation to your current role with Parish Nursing. Why the interest or the focus in needing to do some more training around just financial capability with the COVID cash course? What's the link there?
Well, as a parish nurse, not only myself but my colleagues that I work with are meeting more and more people who are finding themselves in financial difficulty. Yes, locally I've seen people, and people have asked me questions. What do you think I should do? And I'm thinking, I don't really know. This isn't my field. I'm a nurse. But the expectation as a parish nurse is that you know which signpost to direct people to. And I just thought this COVID finance training, fantastic opportunity to find out a little bit more about what services are actually out there, to help people who've lost their jobs, been furloughed, been made redundant, struggling to make ends meet. And I wished I'd have known about the information a good few years ago when I was struggling myself financially.
Yeah. And just for people who aren't familiar with the course, Gill, just say a little bit about what you found helpful. I mean, you've got amazing life experience that you were able to bring, and maybe because of your story, you had a sense of actually some of the things that would be helpful to people beforehand. But were there particular things that you found from the course that were maybe information that you hadn't come across before, or were particularly helpful?
Yeah, there were a number of financial skills that are talked about, and sites that you can refer people to. It's not actually knowing and giving advice as to what an individual should do. It's actually that signposting and suggesting that an individual looks at various routes to help them with their financial difficulties. I didn't really know an awful lot about the Jesus money. And also some of the credit companies, the credit union. I didn't know an awful lot about that. So it's various areas that you can suggest to someone that perhaps they should look at, rather than encountering the loan sharks that we all encounter. They're always asking you to lend money, borrow money from this avenue and that avenue, and getting more debt. So it's been sensible about directing people who've got enough problems on their shoulders at a very difficult time when they are and do find themselves in debt.
Okay. Listen, bless you. Thank you so much for sharing your story, but also just reflecting on the course for people who don't know anything about it. I really appreciate your time.